Again, it is one of the oldest, it is the oldest nonprofit trial test for horticulture. There's volunteers that judge these plants, horticulturists, horticulture industry professionals. And with these trial tests, they are awarding merits of performance compared to market, what would be on the market as a industry standard. So their mission statement is to promote the new garden varieties, superior garden performance. Again, they are judged right beside in the fields what the industry standards are held as in current times. So if you've got two different marigolds, they'll grow them right beside each other and trial test those. Again, we are a display garden, not a trial test. We'll go into that later. So the purpose is to test. So all American selections are new to the market. They are never before released introductions. They come from breeders, seed companies, universities, individuals, anyone who has bred something to merit and then wants to share it with the horticulture industry. So they test the new unsold cultivars. They inform gardeners about what the All American Selections winners are, and to earn garden trust through the performance of those plants' performance. I like their tagline: nationally or tested nationally, proven locally. So in the beginnings, it was founded in 1932. Well, in 1932, Ray Hastings had an idea. So he's the Seedsmen Association president, and he had an idea. Back in those times, there wasn't a lot of literature on plants that perform well in the industry, proven performance. So this was back in the teens and the 20s, 1920s. There was a lot of different information. A lot of these mail order magazines and things like that were sending out with a lot of misrepresented information. And he proposed the idea of the All-American Selections as a way for the home gardener to learn varieties that were truly improved and information that actually was a reliable source for that plant. And again, vegetables as well, for those plants that were going out into the market. So, I mean, it was, like, again, it was founded in 1932. In 33, they announced the first winners. So again, those were sent out all across. He encouraged seed companies from all over the nation to trial test these plants and to share seeds and to evaluate performance collectively between these companies. In 1934 was an actual record setting for that year. It was 30 awards were given out. Ornamental flowers, fruits, and vegetables. Some of those actually a few are still available today. Some of the vegetables are still available, a little easier to find. You can look at Seed Savers or Johnny Seeds. But one of the ones I found I thought was interesting, we grow a lot of calendula in the, not a lot, but we grow calendula in the spring and fall. This one here, it was a 1934 winner, Chrysantha. So you can still find that today for sale, those seeds. I wouldn't be surprised if that cultivar was planted here at Reynolda at one point. The Pansy Dwarf Swiss Giants, released in 1933. The first year of the winners was announced, and that still can be found in rareseeds.com, other mail order catalogs, things like that. So it's kind of cool to grow that history there. Some of those seeds and varieties are still around today. And of course, within the several decades after those introductions, I'm sure more and improved introductions have been made. But if you like the old-fashioned or some of the heirloom novelty of growing some of those, you can still find them.
Hey, can I interrupt you for just a second? I'm so
Sure.
sorry. Can you speak up just a little bit more? There's just a few people their volume, you know, on some of these computers and cell phones and stuff.
Sure.
Thank you.
So the trial test of these, what types of trials they're actually doing. So they grow ornamentals from seed, ornamentals from vegetative cuttings, edibles, for that it can be fruit or vegetables from seed, and herbaceous perennials, which is kind of new in 2019. In years past, they did everything on a national level. So this was, I think it was about back in 2014 or so, they actually started breaking out plants per region. So they would actually grow these plants and send seeds to trial test gardens in certain regions. As most gardeners figure out through time, trial and error, certain plants don't like our heat or don't like our winters, or you want to grow plants that perform best in your climate. What we grow here in North Carolina doesn't maybe grow best in southern Florida or Texas or up in Canada. What we can get away here, you probably can't get away with those in certain regions at certain times of year. But these 4 different types of trials is what they break them out categorically. So the garden bed types. So the trial grounds are never before release plants, just like I was saying earlier. All of these are grown right beside what are held as industry standards. So if there's a top performing marigold or petunia or vinca or something that has been blooming, that's a time trial favorite, tried and true favorite, there's always someone trying to better hybridize a plant, to better perform the flowers, to change the color, to for disease resistance, for certain plant characteristics of height or color that are always being introduced. So these are grown in trial gardens right beside industry standards, and then judged by volunteer judges from the horticulture industry. And evaluated. So within these, excuse me, my camera's in the way here. So within these certain categories, all over the United States and in Canada, there's 47 sites: seeds and ornamentals, that's vegetables, and ornamentals, vegetative ornamentals, and herbaceous perennials. Again, here at Reynolda, we are a display garden. So after these trials have been conducted and these the scores have been tallied, those seeds are then introduced into the market after trial tests. So what we grow here at Reynolda are those proven seeds. Year after year, they send us new seeds that are that were evaluated the year before. So there's 80 plus judges. It can vary from time to time. Within these judgments, there is the AAS winners are ones that are top scored and then released to the public. And then there's the AAS gold medal, which is only awarded 1 or 2 times a decade for an outstanding performance in a breeding breakthrough in a certain classification of plants. So that gold medal, if you see something that is gold medal, that is a even more so of a chosen and proven plant. So within these scores here, it's from 0 to 5. I'll say, I mean, you can see here, it's not a lot of, not like a 1 through 10, but those scores are on average between the percentage of judges, and ones that actually hit the 2 or higher, they'll be awarded as a winner. So within the garden types, again, we are a display garden. With the trial test, I'll go back. The breeders, so these trial tests are typically not open to the public, with a few to public universities. There are some the J.C. Ralston Arboretum, I've seen their trial test. It's kind of a little bit more off the beaten path, and I don't know if you're quite allowed to walk around it as much, but I have seen those trial tests set up. They do have to be, so within these trial tests, they're labeled with a number or a code before they're actually released to the public. So that way they can keep up with what a lot of times if you actually look at a plant cultivar, it might say hydrangea, all summer beauty, but if you look at the international cultivar, it could be hydrangea in a coded number for the actual cultivar that's recognized internationally. So during these trials, it's typically a code. Once they're released into the public, we plant them as display gardens to educate the public on the performance of the new releases that have been coming up, that have been released into the market. So a stipulation of the display gardens that it has to be a public garden, or excuse me, has to be open to the public. Typically is a public garden. But this is a stipulation that because All Americans, the All American Selections company or program does not advertise. Actually, this is a way to inform the public. So being a nonprofit, the All American Selections do not actually advertise from their program and their company. They rely on extension, master gardeners programs, extension gardens, public universities, retailers, and magazines, articles, blogs. It's basically a word of mouth, the way they get these plants out into the public. So within these display gardens, I'm sent seeds every year. Those seeds are grown, and occasionally they will send me cuttings, vegetative rooted cuttings. So depending on what type of plants it is, sometimes it could go either way, but stipulation is they have to be labeled. These plants, because they are informing the public on the newest varieties that are out in the market, they have to be labeled. After this is planted, I usually let it grow a little bit before I take photographs, but within these photographs, we have to send them to the organization for proof of compliance. Because they send us free seed, we do have to show that we are labeling them correctly. They also send us cards like these, right? This blue and white card you see here would actually be labeled with the common name and actual botanical name and the year of introduction. So within those introductions, or within also the gardens, introduction gardens are a way to, before they are released to the public, these are grown at brokers and industry, seed brokers, things like that, and open houses and field days that the industry can come and evaluate these plants before they're actually sent out and grown in display gardens across the nation. The two-year most recent winners are grown within these beds to share with the industry professionals. There's two other garden types I wasn't actually really familiar with until I started researching more into this. The preview gardens. So they send seeds actually to horticulturists that are writers and bloggers and in the industry of promoting plants, where they'll grow these plants and they'll actually ask to provide the office with links and articles to their blogs, but to actually evaluate them from a true horticulturist and a writer's point, where they can actually relate that to the public. And then recently they've just gone into collaboration with America in Bloom. America in Bloom are cities that are given the opportunity to show these All-American winners in a part of their beautification program. They are sent the seeds free of charge as well. These gardens must be open to the public and must have them labeled. Again, the goal is to promote these plants, to educate the public on new performing bedding plants, vegetables, and perennials. And then, of course, a picture verification is also sent to the organization. So kind of going through that, we're going to start with what we do here at the gardens. So our garden plot is, again, a display garden. They send us the seeds and vegetative cuttings from year to year, depending on what they are. It's not a very large garden, but there's a lot that can be planted for an impact of color. The majority of these plants that we grow have a long bloom time, are very showy, and very a top performer for disease resistance and profusion of flowers. So this here you can see April 2018 just planted. These typically I'll start these seeds in February or March, depending in the greenhouse, depending on how long these seeds stay. Some of the seeds they send us are very, very small. They could take quite a while to grow up, a few weeks to a few months to get a substantial size for transplant. So most of these are planted at anywhere from a 2-inch to a 4-inch pot, possibly a quart-size pot if it's a vegetative cutting. So not very large size of plant that goes in the ground, but within a few months, the performance is very noticeable. So here we have a bed full of verbena, ornamental peppers, a couple different varieties. To the right of the screen, you can see some echinacea, the coneflower. That was Cheyenne Spirit, which is a winner, and I think that was back in 2003 winter. Along the backside there were hibiscus, actually. It's perennial hibiscus machutos. Southern Belle was the cultivar that was an original winner in 1971. So when I was doing a little research on these plants and on this bed, the fact that they had a winner from 1971 and some of those plants were still actually in the garden being displayed in the back there was pretty neat. I can see if I can zoom in here. So within this, we've got, again, the verbena is the little low, short pink blooming. Most verbenas, as you know, they grow along as a ground cover. There's a black black hawk ornamental pepper. That purple kind of fades out a little bit, but right next to something bright like that pink really makes it pop. The bright orange you see there are ornamental peppers. That's Numex or Easter ornamental pepper. There, right behind that, you see some red, and that is a barricade geranium. There is Jolt Pink dianthus. That's an upright kind of bush-forming dianthus. In the back, the white kind of mass back there is Summer Jewel salvia. So that's a very profuse blooming salvia. And behind that, you can see some purple that is kind of in back here. That purple is a celosia. That is Asian garden is the cultivar. I know most of you are probably familiar with celosia. It's a very, very easy plant to grow from seed, and it is very prolific to put out seeds. This celosia here, I would recommend for containers. I planted a big swath of that in the back, and the next season I had more celosia coming up as weeds more than I could ever imagine. So unless you like plants that tend to seed out very easily, I recommend that one For anyone who wants to plant a big swath of color, and then year after year, it will seed out on its own and come back almost like a perennial, but as an annual that will seed out on its own. And it gets about a foot or two tall, blooms all summer, very, very profuse, but be mindful if you do mix this into other beds that it can almost be a nuisance when it comes to weeding the seeds. So zoom out here. So, and also within this, you can see over here on the side. I've got, this is an Agastache, Golden Jubilee. It's a perennial Agastache, very bright, colorful foliage. It's a chartreuse lime green with a kind of a lavender, almost washed out periwinkle blue flower. It's a butterfly magnet. Looks great next to the coneflower, the Cheyenne Spirit. Cheyenne Spirit's a great one. Comes up, it could be a mixture of different colors. So some years I have red and white flowers there. Other years it'll be all white. Other years it'll be orange with mixed in with purple. It's fascinating to you can see there's a little bit of orange even at the bottom corner there on the right. So that's a fascinating cultivar. It's actually the seeds are very easy to start. So at the end of the season, I will collect seeds from this and start those, and we'll sell those plants. If you leave the dried seed heads, the goldfinches love to eat the little seeds out of there, and other little small songbirds. So going from April to June, you can see within just about a month or two the amount of growth these beds have put on. Here's the hibiscus Southern Belle. That's a 1971 All-American winner perennial. They're commonly referred to as a dinner plate hibiscus. I lost my cursor, but that is it's a very strong performer. The only bad thing about some of these older cultivars with newer cultivars coming out, I've noticed that this hibiscus has typically by August it's done, and then you'll start getting some issues with Japanese beetles eating holes in the foliage and things like that. But there are newer cultivars out on the market today, but some of the old-fashioned favorites, the dinner plate hibiscus, are quite literally bigger than your face, and come back year after year very reliably. So here, some of the close-ups on some of those plants. You can see on the left top corner, we've got the Cheyenne Spirit coneflower. Within that picture, there was also some little daisies. They were a little slow to start, but that is the, see if yeah, there's a few in there you can kind of see, but that one is, unfortunately, I don't have my notes in front of me. I don't remember that one. I'm offhand, pardon. In the top right corner is the Jolt Pink Dianthus. That's a really very more upright, showy Dianthus. Kind of forms a small, about 1 by 1 clump. Down below is the Cherry Barricade. It's kind of like a variegated foliage with bright orange red geranium. That one's very easy to grow. Great container plant, gives you a lot of colorful foliage even if it's not blooming. And then going on with this one, here's that Agastache, the Golden Jubilee. Getting more of a close-up picture there. So that was some, you can see in the back, there's an All-American winner. It's a purple growing millet. So that's an ornamental grass that get a nice background plant with that dark purple foliage. That Agastache will really pop in front. There's the Summer Jewel White. So within Summer Jewel, there's actually 4 different cultivars. There's a white, a lavender, a red, and a pink. They're all very easy to start from seed and bloom from the moment they get up mature enough to frost. Those salvias will seed out also, so even you might find a few seedlings here and there the next year afterwards. In the top right corner, we've got that is the Endurascape bicolor pink verbena. They sent those as small cuttings. I grew those out, and then they bloomed also from spring all the way to frost. And then down below, there's two lower pictures, that Numex Easter ornamental pepper. That one's a very short, squat growing pepper, but extremely showy when the fruit starts to mature and you get all the different multicolors of that plant. That's a fantastic drought tolerant container plant, and that can be grown all summer. A lot of times you'll see these type of plants sold around the fall season for color and things, but that can be grown all summer and really nice for a container. And peppers are very easy to start from seed. And then, of course, the celosia. It's an upright kind of candelabra looking, about as long as your finger or so, fuzzy. Very, very showy, but be mindful if you plant this in a bed and allow it to completely grow throughout the entire season, you will have seedlings that come up next year and even the year after that, and probably for many, many years. It can be a little bit weedy. So on the All American website, they actually have you can leave a message for comment on, rate this plant, and I did go in and made others mindful this plant can be kind of a nuisance in the garden. But again, if you have a bed that you really like things to seed out and go natural, that way you can plant it once and almost let it do its thing every year. That's the plant for you. And celosia is very easy to start from seed.
Hayden, I'm going
Yes.
to interrupt you. We have a very good question. Do you get to choose the seeds when they send us the seeds, or is it just a big random selection? How do you choose?
So I do not get to choose. They actually send us those seeds. Now that I got my chat here, I can see it. They will send us those seeds. They select those seeds for us and send them. With each year they send us the seeds, they will send us a handful of the newest varieties for our region. We are the Southeast region, so they will send us trial tested regional winners and national winners. Usually I might get anywhere from 1 to 3 or 4 new varieties. They will send me years past winners as well, to continue to display those years past winners. I actually have you can go online and buy a lot of the old seed they're decades old or a few years old as a winner, that are still available on the market. But every year they send us the new seed, and they send us a ton of different vegetable seeds as well. I would like to grow an all-American vegetable bed one year. I've grown them in years past, just here and there, and they've got a tremendous amount of peppers, tomatoes, squash, and melons, different melons they grow. So if you really want something that performs well in the Southeast, I would recommend using those winners, regional winners and national winners even, that are proven for performance. And as it goes for how long the garden display bed, it's at least been from the 70s. There was, when the gardens, I think it was Paul McGill back in, I believe, 1970. That one winner was for the hibiscus was from 71. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was right around 71 or so, or 72. And with near the All-American bed, there back in the back gardens, there is the Upper Rose Gardens. That also used to be an All-American Rose Society garden and trial garden. So it's been several decades the gardens have had this bed and educating the public on it. So that was 2018. So this is April of 2019. Again, you can see how small the plants are there. This year, there was a new introduction of marigold called Superhero Spry. planted those. They actually this year, 2019, they sent me several new varieties. There was a zinnia, Hooley Scarlet, and another marigold, Big Duck Gold. There's also Big Duck Yellow and Big Duck, I believe, Orange. But they sent the gold, and that is a really nice performing. So from April to May, you can see things starting to fill in slightly. Again, all the plants being labeled there. The hibiscus just starting to come up, and now once it grows, warms up, hibiscus can be a little slow to start in the spring. And going from May to June, you can see how much that bed has started to fill in. So within this bed on the right here, you can see down there at the very front, that is the Superhero Spry Marigold. That's a nice low growing, stays under a foot tall, extremely heavy producing flowers. Does not need to be deadheaded, which is very nice. The flowers typically just kind of fall off on their own, and you really don't even notice that there's a bunch of dead flowers even on there, like other marigolds. You just kind of see those dried up, and kind of, especially after rain, you'll get the kind of mushy marigold flowers. Superhero Spry is a very nice one. Very drought tolerant. I've planted this in other beds that did not get that much water. Still performed very well. Was a little bit smaller, not as full and robust, but still the plant performed and held in and still bloomed. Right behind that is the Hooley Scarlet. That's H-O-L-I Scarlet. Zinnia. It's kind of a shorter growing zinnia. Still has a very large bloom like the old fashioned zinnias, but on a shorter, stouter plant with higher disease resistance to the powdery mildew and things like that. Kind of behind that, you can see two shades of pink. Within those shades of pink, on one side is Vinca. That's the Pink Halo Mega Bloom, Vinca Mega Bloom Pink Halo. It's a very nice light pink with a bright white center. Very, very good heavy bloom performance on that plant, and very glossy, shiny leaves. Stays nice and mounded. Beside that, to the left, is Vinca Mega Bloom Orchid Halo. So that is a more of a darker, kind of a pink lavender there, and it also has that bright white center eye. Behind that, you can see is the Marigold Big Duck Gold. So that one's a very upright, it's about 2 feet tall, very, very bushy, large flowered, solid yellow marigold. Really a great background plant, and very, very profuse bloomer. Here you can see this year in 2019, I've got white and yellow echinacea. So that, if you remember last, it was orange and red with a little bit of white. The Agastaches in there. You can kind of see back here, there's another upright zinnia that has, this one's called Queenie Lime. Queenie Lime is a very top performer. Michelle could tell you about that one. She's grown it several times. She grows the zinnias very well. And down here in the bottom left corner, you can see are some ornamental peppers and petunias. There's some over here as well. So within those petunias, that is Carmine Wave. So that is a kind of a deep red burgundy, low growing petunia there. And that is, the peppers are black onyx. So it's a dark, dark purple foliage and a dark, dark, almost black pepper that will mature into red. And you can barely see, there's a little bit of a canna back there that got mixed in. That canna is South Pacific Scarlet. Canna is actually very easy to start from seed as well. They can have a very hard seed coat, so you might want to soak it overnight or scratch it, scarify it with some sandpaper, and then sow the seed. But canna will, so from June to July, you can see how the bed has really filled in. Some of those hibiscus there are different cultivars of the Machutos. And here you can barely see, they got a little bit overcrowded. There's a little bit of a dark patch. This is a begonia that was new that year. They sent me called Viking XL, like extra large, Viking XL, red on chocolate. So I don't know if you've ever grown begonias from seed. They actually send me pelletized seed. Begonia seed is almost like dust. It's essentially a very, 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 very small seed. So manufacturers will actually coat these seeds to make them quite a little bit larger so you can actually handle them. As soon as that coated seed gets water, it'll actually start breaking down and grow the seed, and it'll be able to allow it to germinate. So just looking at that from July of 2019, and there's probably about August of 2019. You can see how things get a little overgrown sometimes. Things, it's hard to keep them in their parameters. You can see the zinnias back here starting to get a little floppy there, but you can just see the amount of profusion these flowers have performed, and this is months and months and months of flowers without little effort at all. Just keep the weeds out. So here's a little bit of close-up on some of those plants. So in the top right corner is the Carmine Wave Petunia, Superhero Spry Marigold, Vinca Mega Bloom Pink Halo, Hooley Scarlet Zinnia. It's a shorter zinnia, but again, it does have a full-size flower. The top left, you've got the Vinca Mega Bloom Orchid Halo, and below that is the Big Duck Gold. Beside that is the Black Onyx pepper. That pepper planted with other bright foliage plants just really pops. And my favorite plant probably out of the past few years has been this begonia here, Viking XL red on chocolate. I have actually started taking cuttings of this plant to vegetatively propagate it instead of from seed. I wanted to keep some growing through the winter. AAS does allow people who participate in the program display gardens to sell excess plants from what you grow from seed. So this plant here, it's not a patented plant or anything like that. So it's allowed to be propagated. Since here at Reynolda Gardens, we are a nonprofit, we'd like to and also sell unusual plants that are harder to find on the market. I want to offer this plant for sale in the spring, as well as some of these plants possibly in the future as well to add to our spring plant sale. So this is a lot of the lower growing bedding plants, usually stays under a foot or two tall. These plants here, some of the other bedding plants. Here is a can of South Pacific Orange. So back in 2018, I had South Pacific Scarlet, and now in 2018, 2019, they sent me seed for South Pacific Orange. A dianthus here in the middle is Supra Pink. It's interspecific dianthus. It's a really very profuse blooming dianthus. I actually had some of this come back as a perennial. Didn't even die back. They do acknowledge that this plant can be grown as an annual or a very, very short-lived perennial, might die through the winter. At the top left, the Salvia Summer Jewel Lavender. So it's just like the white, but it is lavender. And again, there is red and pink. It's a true red and a true pink. Very profuse blooming. Down below that is the Zinnia Hooley Scarlet. That's the very tall, upright, old-fashioned blooming zinnia. I love the radiance of color from the center going to the outside of the flower, and it's up to like a 3-inch bloom on that one. And down in the middle is a baby's breath. So that one, again, it has a very small seed. That baby's breath there, it makes a very nice clump, would be a great container plant. They do recommend that you start this seed in kind of late winter in a greenhouse or indoor environment, get it ready to go. They like cooler nights. It actually performed quite well for me, I think, through the heat of the summer. but typically it is recommended you plant a second crop late summer. So that way you've got another, by late summer, the plant looks pretty tired, and it can slowly die through the heat. It likes the cooler nights. So that's one that you would probably need to, if you really like that plant, spring and fall, plant some in the spring, plant again in late summer for more color. So this is the bed planted this year. I decided really get people to sit and enjoy these flowers, to really kind of look at them a little more instead of just walking by. Having the bench right there in the middle actually makes people I made 2 paths so that it kind of breaks up the bed so that you can actually see these plants up close a little more, and try to read the signs. The print kind of can be small on some of these signs, but so allowing people to come in and kind of sit and enjoy. So here you can see down at the bottom that big duck gold, marigold. Right there in the center, in between the cannas coming up, is the early starts of the chocolate on red on chocolate begonia, the Hooley scarlet zinnia. You can see some dianthus on the corner up there, the marigold superhero spry. And then this fine textured area right in front of the bench is that salvia, summer jewel lavender. So the different textures as well, depending on what you like. I like, of course, some of the taller things in the back and more coarse foliage and flowers. These big, tall marigolds here on the sides are there to flank either side. And I tried to, looking through the what the height and size these plants would be, try to almost do like a staircase effect, stadium staircase effect from the tallest in the back to the lowest in the front. So you get that real perspective of kind of adding. It makes the bed look a lot bigger than it actually is. So that's May 2000. So this is June. It's starting to fill out. I put some of that little baby's breath in there, little pockets of it, and there's a big swath of it at the front. As the heat sets in. So if you see in this bed, if you noticed, I've actually taken out the hibiscus. The hibiscus was in there for decades and decades. They looked great through the summer, but by August, they really were looking pretty tired. They were finished blooming by August. And so we decided to kind of take out those and put in some of the newer, and really have a bigger area to display some of the newer varieties that were being introduced. So from May to June to July, you can see that begonia, which is one of my favorites, has really filled in there and kind of blended nice well. That dark foliage really stands out well against the bright green leaves and the yellow flowers of the marigolds and canna. I love this aspect of kind of from the side there. And then this is another side, kind of back probably in June here, kind of did a mirror image on either side so that you can kind of get a perspective. So this is July from the same angle. Things starting to really fill in, and if you look close enough, you can probably see some of that celosia that I missed. Standing away from on the other side, it's down there in that front. It's really nice, that baby's breath. I loved how it like I said, it actually did very, very well. By about August, it was looking pretty tired and it needed to come out. Same with the dianthus. Sometimes through the heat of the summer, that super pink dianthus it starts to fade a little bit in the heat. The petunia was a very, very top performer, I would say. That deep color stayed, and I like to plant it kind of in between things and let it weave its way and kind of climb around. You can see the echinacea over there is white in 2020. It's really nice. That echinacea kind of gives you a different kind of, every year it's something to look forward to and be surprised what the color is. So again, that's probably about June there. You can see that baby's breath is really looking full. Here, where the actual petunia is planted, I've got it kind of up in it's a ceramic terracotta drain pipe that's been flipped up and used as a container planting. It's an open bottom, so it's actually planted in the soil and then filled with media so then the roots can grow, and it actually gave it a little more height in that bed so they can spill over and I could fit everything. It's again, it's not that large of a bed when you really think about it, when you look at the aspect of what that bench is there. But you can get a lot of impact and color and show and with these plants. And there's August. So it does look a little tired by August. These plants, they bloom their little hearts out really. Within this area, just kind of making sure that it's been irrigated plenty fine. I put fertilizer in the beginning when I plant these. We use plant tone and some slow release fertilizer pelletized. I will mix that into the soil as I plant. So that kind of feeds all summer. I try to avoid excessive fertilizer. A lot of these plants are bred to be good performers. As long as they're in decent soil and have decent irrigation, they should perform just fine. Sometimes excessive fertilizers can cause plants to flop over. They've got too much energy and they'll outgrow and they'll stretch some occasionally. All these plants here are good for full sun. There are plants that could take a little more shade here and there, but majority of these are again bedding plants that are growing out in field conditions essentially. But most of them will take partial sun if at least for most or for some of the day. So in conclusion, just kind of where can you find these plants? Any plant that has been awarded the AAS winner it will be labeled with that logo. So even online, when you're looking at seeds to order, if it's an AAS winner, it will have that logo. I've got in some pansies this year, Ultima Morpho pansies to plant in that bed. So actually this year is the first year I've taken everything out and went through years past of plants that are different kales, cabbages. There's the pansy Ultima Morpho. I think it was a 2011 winner. Some nasturtium and some different type of broccoli I planted in that bed for winter interest. Those are plants that will pretty much grow throughout the entire winter. A lot of the kales are very cold hardy cabbages and broccoli. Go from this really big lush flowering bed to kind of boring nothing all winter. So this year decided to really try to have some winter interest. That bed was just starting to fill in. I didn't get a picture of it, unfortunately, but come out to the gardens and see it. But anywhere you go and it is to buy plants or you're looking to buy plants, these plants will be labeled with that winter logo. And so when I got those pansies in, I knew that they were AAS winners, but when I actually looked at the little tag on the back, flipped it over, there was a logo that said AAS winner. So I guess it's a partnership they have to make sure to ensure that the public knows these have been trial tested and proven for performance. So with that, we'll open up to questions.
Hayden, you can, anybody can get on the All-American website and be able to see other display gardens and get the plant list of all these plants that you've talked about, right?
Correct. So if you actually do go to the All-American Selections website, the AAS, I believe it's aas.org, they have you can download an Excel file of the entire plant list from 1933 to today. And you can look at those. I think it was about 2014 when they started doing regional winners. So they actually, within that Excel form, they'll label who was the breeder, what year it was a winner, and if it was regional or national winner. Within on the website as well, you can look around, and they have a interactive map where you can look at the United States and see where trial test gardens are, where display gardens are, where preview gardens are. Again, not all are open to the public, but if it's a display garden, it will be open to the public um, uh, during their operational hours. If it's here, our operational hours are dawn to dusk, so anytime during daylight hours, you can come out and see that bed. Especially spring through fall. But again, you can look on their website and you can find any winner from years past. And a lot of times when you click on the information of that specific plant, it sometimes has a link to say where to buy. So you can do Burpee Seed, Park Seed, Johnny Seed, Rare Seeds Finder, or rareseeds.com. There's really mail order catalogs, things like that, and retailers, if they're having the actual plant for sale, the plant will be labeled somewhere with that logo.
Hayden, what was the variety of ornamental peppers that you showed that had so many different colors?
So one is called Black Hawk. That one actually it's kind of a purpley green foliage. Black Hawk has just dark black peppers that mature red, and then there's another one called Onyx Red, Onyx Red, and that one has very dark purple foliage and dark fruits as well that will mature red. Black Hawk gets about a foot tall, maybe a little bit more, and the red onyx, Black Onyx Red, that one stays about a foot or less.
Okay, great. And how spell the Hooli zinnias?
I believe it's Holi.
Holi. Okay, thank
Hooli
you.
Scarlet, yeah. And that one, I like that one. That one actually performed because some of the zinnias, I'm not crazy about the single blooms. I do like the double bloom zinnias, and the fact that one's a little bit shorter, it doesn't flop, it won't fall over, it doesn't need staking, and it has a full size flower.
Any more questions? You can unmute yourself if you do have a question. And if you've never been out to the gardens and you don't know where the All-American Garden is, if you go all the way up to the upper garden, it's right in front of the rose garden. It's at a triangle. We used to have a sign, but the sign looked so bad. It looked like it was from 1971, so we took it down.
Yeah, we need to get a new sign, but
so hopefully we'll get a new sign. But there is a smaller sign, and you'll recognize the bench and stuff too. So it's right before the rose garden, and it's beside the cottage gardens. But you'll recognize it and stuff. And we have in the past grew some of the tomatoes, the All-American tomatoes, like for our heirloom tomato sale and stuff. We've grown right many of the All-American vegetables and stuff. Sometimes we put a sign and sometimes we don't. But I think moving forward, we will continue to do better at that, to grow those.
I think next year I even had an idea to maybe mix the flowers and vegetables, kind of not so traditional gardening where everybody has just a vegetable garden, just a flower garden. It's it's like the Brits do when they mix their roses in with their other garden plants, not just only a rose garden, but but having a lot of pollinator plants around your vegetables can help with your vegetable pollination.
Any other questions?
If anyone has any questions at all they think of later, feel free to email the gardens at wfu.edu, or me personally, Hayden, Hayden, at Reynolda.org.
Well, Hayden, thank you so much. I learned some stuff too. So.
Oh, great.
So thank you. So good to see y'all's faces again. And next week, Forrest, our horticulturalist here, he'll be talking about the changes that's been going on in the lower formal garden, and there has been changes. So, but he'll be talking about all of that. So I hope all of y'all can join us in that. So if there's not any more questions, I guess we will see y'all next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hayden.
Thank you.
Sure.
Michelle, are you still
Yes,
there?
I'm still here.
I was
Yes.
in the garden one day and I thought that it was Forrest that mentioned there was going to be a program about the trees in the area there.
Yeah, I
Is
don't
there-
know. That's what I just emailed you back or texted you back. I don't know. That's off. I don't
Okay.
even know our programs.
Okay.
uh,
That's okay. I just was wondering. He said,
do we have a
thought he
program
said
coming up
November.
on trees? Yeah. I don't know. Forrest had mentioned it. Anyway, so I don't know, Rosemary, to answer your question.
oh,
But
okay.
Email us, and that way we'll have your email and we can email you that answer.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for the program.
All right. Thank y'all.